Every once in a while, the stars align, the world is eclipsed in a warm blanket of happiness, everything makes sense, and all is well. Okay, that's a bit much, but in the world of retro handhelds, where companies are churning out device after device, everyone is copying one another, but not exactly getting it right, and missing some pretty big pieces. Throughout all of that madness, a gem emerges, and it's just a breath of fresh air. Stick around for my first impressions. So let's check out the tech specs. These specs are from the Go Game Geek website. Full disclosure, they sent me this device as a review unit, but as always, all opinions are my own. They didn't see this video before it was published, and no money was exchanged with them in any way. The 35xxSP has a decent amount of power and is running the H700 chip, which is the same chipset as the 35xxH. So if you're familiar with the H, with that device, you can expect the same performance as the SP. It should be able to play some of the mid-tier systems like Dreamcast, N64, and PSP, but keep in mind, it won't be able to play everything in those catalogs. Here you can see that the device comes in 4 different colors: silver, the gray DMG Game Boy style, the transparent blue that I have here, and a transparent black. The SP is listed for about $72 US without ROMs. They have a 64 gig card with games for only $3 more, or $90 for 128 gig card. Also, you can see that there are a plethora of accessories for this device, which is cool to see. I'm not sure if the actual case is needed for this device, but that's up to you. I feel like I complain a lot about Anbernic, especially recently. With my issues with my 28XX, the screen bezel coming off and it's almost exposing the LCD underneath. And I've also never really received a good 35XX device. I've ordered a few of them and I received a couple dead devices, had a screen issue on one, and yeah. And so many rattly buttons. So many rattly buttons. But then I got this in the mail. And I just have this nice happy feeling again because this thing is really cool. It's really, really cool. But before I break out into some sort of dramatic song or poem, let's rewind and we'll check out the unboxing happiness. I'm not gonna sing, but maybe Stormtrooper Steve will. Feel free. He's been known to beatbox now and again. So here's the unboxing. Everything on the inside is kind of standard for Anbernic. You can see that they sent some screen protector wipes. There's a manual that may or may not have some useful information in there, and a screen protector. That little tiny box has the charging cable. There is no block in this box. The cord is a USB-C to USB-A cord. And here's the device. So the plastic on it is sort of a matte finish. It's a little slippery, but that hinge is really nice. There's a little bit of heft to the device overall, a little heavy, but here you can see the clicky buttons. Let's hear them. The flip closes, the hinge closes by magnets. You can see on my transparent model, that's one of the reasons why I got that. Also, it's blue and it's awesome. Volume buttons on one side, a power button and a reset on the other, and you can see you have 2 SD card slots and headset jack at the bottom. Mine was sent with a 64 gig card. On the back you can see there, you can get into the battery if you do need to. But it's very nice. I really like that they have a front-facing speaker. That's pretty cool. Well, it's not nearly as loud as the 28XX or even the 35XX. Also, the screen is inset and the buttons look like they're inset too, so you won't have any issues of hopefully the buttons rubbing against the screen. So let's boot this thing up. Just so you know, it took about a good 30 seconds to boot this up. Before I show you the operating system, there is also another little bonus present that Go Game Geek sent me. This is one of their covers for the device. So let's check this thing out. It comes with a lanyard, and if you do end up getting one of these, there is a plastic insert in both pieces that you want to make sure that you take out. And make sure that you kind of angle it in from the top on the bottom piece. And there you go. That's how it fits. The texture is very rough, and it's kind of it's sandpapery. I don't like that. So yeah, I'm immediately taking this off, but that's how it looks in case you like it if you don't want to get your device scratched. I think that might be a little bit better than, you know, having the big giant honking case. You could probably sand something with this little case. It's very, very rough and textured. Don't get this if you have like a texture thing. Just don't. Apparently I do. And just to show you the hinge, it looks like it's working pretty good. This is about as far as it extends. You can keep it upright. You can also go whatever angle that is, but it can go further than that. I wouldn't recommend it because you'll probably end up damaging your device. We don't want to do that. On the top, there is a mini HDMI port and the charging port. So I'm not going to test the HDMI port in this video, but I'll definitely get to it in another video. First thing that you want to do is definitely turn off that clicky button sound that, for whatever reason, Anbernic thinks that we like that. We don't like that. So this is the software. This is pretty typical now of what Anbernic is sending out on their Linux devices, especially the 35XX line. In the beginning, you have a weird spot. I will make note of this, that you have game rooms and you also have a RetroArch spot. I would play all of your games if you were able to through RetroArch, and then save the game room section for anything else that maybe doesn't work. And you'll see that it doesn't work 100% of the time, but you can definitely get a little bit better performance out of it. So here you can see in the system settings what version of software I'm running, which again, I'm going to throw custom firmware on this. So that right there is the game rooms, and you can go through and you can see everything is in both spots. I don't know why they have to do it separately. I hate when they do that. Just you know, everybody else that's in this hobby already, you're okay with this. But if this is, you know, this is probably going to spark quite a bit of people, new users, to come on board, and they want to get, you know, a new Game Boy SP that plays all sorts of other things other than SP. And I don't like when they have to complicate things. So there is also access to Moonlight. Again, that's not going to be something that I'm going to test out in this video, but I definitely will test out in another video. So you can see that you can change your icon settings. I'm not sure who likes Angry Birds out there, whatever. So it is neat that there is some customization to it. I do appreciate that, you know, Anbernic is definitely trying. So it's not terrible. I'm personally am not a fan of it, but I'll be honest, it's not bad. It really isn't. As far as a stock operating system goes, it's usable. You could keep it on here. I just want something that maybe is a little prettier, little more curated, and you know, I can actually see. I don't know what these background settings are, but whatever. Okay, so I've decided on a new theme. Let's go into the game room section and you can see what systems are on here. And let's go into Atari. Well, I don't know why they don't load anything after the letter H. I don't know why. So we're gonna pick Grand Prix, which is a good classic for me. Okay, so I was going to show you some game footage of Alex Kidd in Miracle World, but notice the scan lines here. There is some sort of filter that is on this when you get it. So if you do want to take this off, I'm not a big fan. It kind of blurs the image a little bit as well. I'm not sure if it's bilinear filtering or just some goofy filters. So if you do want to take this off, I'm going to show you how. To exit the game, you just want to hit the menu button, or if your device is configured a little bit differently, you hit the start and the menu button, and it should let you close out of it. Now here you can see that I go into the apps, and then you want to click on the TF card, and then once you're in this menu, you go all the way down and you will see the filter, and you can toggle it to turn it off. It'll take a few moments so that it will change this. What this does, this changes it on all of your games. So you won't see any of this on your games at all. And right here you can see you can turn it off. It gives you that option. I'm happy now. And just to verify, it does say shaders off. Then you can back out of it and go back into your game. And all will be right with the world. Now you can see when I load up Alex Kidd again, you don't see any of those lines. I'm not sure if you're able to see it just because if my camera's not picking that up, but the lines are off and now we don't have the weird haze. There isn't the softness on the picture. It's more crisp, it's more 8-bit, it's more nostalgic and happy, how it should be. Now, I'll admit, I did cheat here, and I normally, for a first impressions video, I don't like to put any extra games on here unless I'm specifically testing something. This is for my pure enjoyment because this is one of my all-time favorite games. You should definitely play this. River Raid, Atari 2600. But the reason I loaded some extra games on here is I wanted to get the first impressions video out last week, but life happened. Also, there was a holiday, and I decided I just wanted to mess around with it a little bit because I knew that it was going to take an extra few days to get this video out. But in doing that, I got to play some of my favorite games, and that made me really enjoy this device so much more. Now for Pico 8, there isn't a native Explore option, so you can't actually access the whole Pico 8 library, which is sad, but again, this is stock firmware. That's one of the things why I'm going to change it to custom firmware. But there were a few games, standalone Pico 8 games, because it's running the fake 08 emulator, and I decided to go ahead and play it. And I mean, this is a fantastic Pico 8 machine. Even though it's not a 1:1 aspect ratio, it's pretty close. And I mean, there's something to be said about playing Pico 8 in your pocket on a little tiny, almost Game Boy SP. It's just, look at it. Look at this thing. It's awesome. Again, I know if you follow me, really, if you love 8-bit looking games, little pixel art, you need to check out Pico 8. It's amazing. It's just... So one thing that I do like that's set as default on the stock OS firmware is the bezels. I know that seems silly, but because of the aspect ratio of the screen, you know, we're playing Game Gear here, and it's not going to fill up the screen. So some of the systems that don't fill up the screen, you may not want the black bars on the side or on the top. And with bezels, if you have the bezels turned on, and by default they are turned on in the stock OS, it's just I think it's kind of cool. I mean, granted, with the Game Gear, there isn't a whole lot going on, but you can see, here's Game Boy. And Game Boy has, you know, it looks like a Game Boy. You can see down at the bottom, it says Game Boy, and it adds a little bit more. This is one of my favorite Game Boy Advance games, and look at how cool Game Boy Advance games look on this screen. It's like it was made for it, right? I'm not sure if you saw this little awesome ad. This is the bezel for Game Boy Advance that they have put in the stock. But this is a pretty cool added feature. I like this. And here you can see that the screen is inset. So those buttons and the screen shouldn't be friends. They'll be close friends, but not like really close friends. So that's good. So we'll do a size comparison. Here you can see the Powkiddy V90 up against the SP. And you can see that the V90 is considerably smaller. It's close, but you know, there's more heft to the SP. It's definitely a little bit bigger. And also, I'm sure if you've seen other reviews or read about it, the SP is a little bit bigger than the original SP, the Game Boy SP. So just so you know about that. And here's a size comparison with the Miu A30. Miu was supposed to come out with their version of the flip. I'm not sure if or when that will happen, ever, if, I'm not sure. So anyway, that's why I'm pretty happy with the SP, that it even exists at this point. So I'll run through some gameplay here. And for the most part, really, I didn't have any sort of issues until I got to PSP. And that was really only with a couple games. So, like I've said before, treat those systems as higher end systems, Dreamcast, N64, and PSP. Not everything is going to play, and if it does play, it may not play at full speed. Typically, you know, more of the 3D games will struggle. But if you have more 2D games that you like, those can definitely play a little bit better, or should play a little bit better. But Game Boy Advance looks amazing on here. Another one of my favorite systems, anything arcade, is always fun to play on this. And I really like what they did with the bezels. I think it fills out the screen really nice, even though you have more vertical arcade games. So maybe definitely keep those on. They look pretty cool. Now with DS, it plays. You just are going to have to figure out which way you want to view the screens. You can only view one screen at a time if you want it full screen, or you can go side by side or vertical. How you scroll through the screens is L1, L2, R1, R2. So just toggle through there, see what you like. Full screen and just going back to the map, you probably don't generally have to check out the second screen. Most games that are more pen-centric are not going to work. Dreamcast played pretty good. I was pretty impressed with it. Again, there's only a handful of games that are loaded on here right from the get-go, so that always shows you that those games generally may not play the full catalog. If you have any issues running any of the higher end systems, try to go into the emulator if you can, or you can go, if you're running through the RetroArch, go back into Game Room and see if you can run it through there. Sometimes it runs a little bit better, like I mentioned before. PSP is hit or miss, honestly. The cool thing is you can go through and go back into the PPSSPP emulator, but unfortunately there isn't a whole lot that we can change, and I'll show you here in a second. You can see with Tekken, I mean, it's just crawling. The audio's terrible, the gameplay is very laggy and slow, and for a fighting game, that's not always good. But if you hit the menu button, you can go back through here. Part of the issue is that we don't have access to Vulkan, which I think would drastically help. But we can see frame skip is off, so we're going to turn that on. And that might help. Or not. You can see that I turned the FPS counter on, and it's really kind of chugging at about 27 frames per second. Seems a little bit better, but again, this is going to be completely up to you if you think that you can handle this. It may work on some games, and other games, it may not do anything. And here we are with the grand finale of PSP. Chains of Olympus just does not run. It's terrible. The FPS counter barely hits 20. When I'm pressing buttons, I'm jamming on the buttons because I'm just trying to figure out why it's not registering my input. But it's just so laggy. And also, I don't think that the controls are set up correctly, completely. I tried this game a couple times, and at one point, I was just having trouble turning around. So, again, I wouldn't play this. Okay, so there are a few things that I wanted to go over. These are a few issues or tips that I have noticed. If you are playing N64, it depends on the game, but this is a weird tip, and it's just something that I wanted to go over. Since this device doesn't have any thumbsticks, you will need to do something to get it to work. If you notice in Wave Race, I can't play this. But if you notice in a moment, when I tap the power button while I'm in the game, it activates the D-pad. Don't ask me why this is even a thing, and it just doesn't play automatically. Seems super bizarre. Why not correctly map the buttons, or just leave N64 off since it's pushing the limit of the device anyway, but it sort of works. That you may have a ton of issues with games that need thumbsticks, so just keep that in mind. Also, here is another issue. Many people are talking about it in the community, and it's because the battery, as you can see, it just sits right on the motherboard. It sits on the CPU. So a lot of people are complaining that it might get warm. Warm might be okay. However, if you are having any sort of issue of it catching fire by any means, or it's getting extremely, extremely hot, definitely bring that up to whoever you have bought the device from, whether it's Go Game Geek, Anbernic themselves. hopefully they will take care of you and they will replace the device for you. Throughout my testing, it did get a little warm in some spots, but it wasn't anything, at least, that was concerning to me. I noticed it for maybe a few minutes here and there, but it was just a tiny bit of warmth, not by any means burning my hands. So another thing to go over is, by default, when you get this device, it will not have a sleep function. You will have to go in and power off the device in order to get a sleep function. Now, pay attention, you go into the apps, and then you are going to go into the selection of quick shutdown. Once you enable this, and just look at it on the screen, once you enable this, you can go back into the game, and I will show you this, that it actually does take a moment, and then it does power down. So that's pretty cool. What you don't want is to close this and think that maybe you can come back a few hours later or the next day, and you will be sorely surprised and disappointed, because it's been tested out in the community that this battery, the sleep function, or the mythical sleep function, it drains quite a bit. It drains probably about 4 to 5% an hour. If the screen is on, it's just going to be going away in your pocket. So definitely try to turn this on. Here you can see I'm playing a game, and then I will close the lid, and then it will take a moment, and you can watch the light on the side, and it will turn off. See how the indicator went away? So then that's good. It's turned off. Now, all you have to do when you want to go back into it, you just have to power the device back on, and here is the cool feature. Watch this. It does take an extra few moments, patience, but here's the cool thing. It goes right back into your game, right back into where you shut it off from earlier. Ta-da! I mean, that's a pretty awesome feature. So that is one good thing that I did find on the stock OS, that I kind of feel like it saved the stock OS sort of in a way. So this was a long first impressions, and I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate you sticking around with me. I got a little carried away, and that's because this thing is really awesome. It really is. I really like it. I really do. It's not perfect. My issue with it, like I said, is the clicky buttons and the D-pad. I'm sure you saw on my Street Fighter footage, I'm not the best, I will admit, at throwing Hadoukens or Shoryukens, but I think that if I had a rubber membrane connection for those games, that might make it a little bit easier. However, I mean, your mileage might vary. So other than that, I mean, don't tell my Miu Mini Plus, but this could be my daily pocket go-to device when I'm just running around town doing errands and whatnot. So, no, Steve, don't tell my Miu Mini Plus. He's bad. He might tell. Anyway, I mean, it's a little bit bigger, but you don't have to worry about a case. You don't have to worry about that screen getting scratched, which is a huge thing. So I feel like the extra bulk on the device is worth it, because to me, I'd throw a case on there anyways. I don't want to throw it in my pocket or my, a bag and possibly get it scratched, get the screen scratched with your keys. That's always a concern of mine. But yeah, I wasn't fortunate enough to have a Game Boy SP, but from what I'm hearing, this thing hits all the feels. It's a little bit bigger than the Game Boy SP, but not by much. And also, what's really cool is, it can play so many other systems, so it's just pretty awesome. It's crazy to me that it took a company this long to actually come out with a retro handheld that is a clamshell. Hello. Like, it's 2024. Please do that. The only thing I will say about that is I'm happy that this is made, and I'm hoping maybe this isn't everybody's take on it, but it in the land of retro handhelds, like I mentioned, Everybody copies everybody, so maybe there will be some healthy competition out there. I would love to see that. That would be fantastic. Why not? I would welcome it. Miu, I'm looking at you. I don't know if the Miu Flip will ever actually be a thing. That would be awesome. Please do that. That would be great. Other than that, I mean, this is great. Unless you're looking at this and you say immediately, no, that's not for me. I have no interest in that. If you are kind of on the fence, you probably want to just get this because it's just pretty cool. It's so portable, perfect. It's just awesome. Stick around for my next video, my review. I'll test out some custom firmware, go through a couple different options. I will also test out and see if I can make the buttons a little bit quieter. There are some fixes out there, so we'll see about that. Leave in the comments below if you do want to see anything in specific, and I will definitely try to address that. You want to see some games, you want to see anything at all, I will definitely try to get to that. Yeah, all in all, it's a great device for the price. It's under $100. But those are my thoughts, not yours. So leave any comments in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Stay awesome, everyone, and go play some games.